morning to all. So in our last class we discussed regarding the topic the classroom activity second, which was from the Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. So we discussed regarding some important questions from that. So the first question was regarding the patriarchal society. So based on that we have to focus on in some important aspects. So the first one is that Jane Eyre, who is the protagonist of this novel, is in love with his employer, who is Mr. Rochester. So basically Jane is the protagonist of this novel, and also she is in love with her employer, who is Mr. Rochester. Then Jane becomes the desperate when Rochester brings home a beautiful but ruthless woman named Blanche Ingram. After that, Jane expects Rochester to propose to Blanche, and also Jane doesn't get why anyone would not marry for love, especially if they are rich enough to do pretty much whatever they want. But she figures there must be some reason that so many people who are already wealthy and important insist on marrying to get more money and status instead of to make themselves happy. So here we have to notice some important points in which Jane doesn't talk about her own ideas about the marriage, and also only the ideas that she would have if she were in Rochester's place. So here Jane doesn't talk about her own ideas, instead only the ideas that she would have if she were in Rochester's place. Somehow Jane can conceive of herself needing to make a choice about marrying for love or status. Only a man like Rochester doing so. Then she knows that the lady like Miss Ingram could not charm him. However, this fact has no importance in a patriarchal society. And regarding that, a patriarchal arrangement looks at marriage more as a social mechanism that sustains the status quo than as a union of loving souls. In this perspective, the consideration of class, caste, and social status determine the marriage and matches. And Jane Eyre is critical of the Victorian England's strict and Jane Eyre is critical of Victorian England's strict social hierarchy. And also, in addition to this class hierarchy, she must fight against the patriarchal domination, against those who believe women to be inferior to men and try to treat them as such. So basically this is the kind of radical feminist philosophy based on the Jane Eyre point of view. So that's regarding the first important question, and the second question was regarding the gender roles, in which the assumptions about the assigned gender roles create an imbalance of power. So here we have to focus on the kind of these power relations in the society. So basically this is about the patriarchal society, and also according to Jane, women are helpless in a male-dominated society and they have no freedom to question any injustice done against them. So basically this is also regarding the topic the power relation and based on the patriarchal society. So that's regarding the second classroom activity. So today we had to focus on the third classroom activity. So the first classroom activity was based on the Arundhati Roy's God of Small Things, and second one was regarding the Charlotte Bronte's, which is Jane Eyre, and the third one is an extract from Maya Angelou's autobiographical essay, which is the Graduation. So we had to focus on this classroom activity third. Before that, the power works through manifold structures and on multiple levels or domains. Many of these are multi-layered and also interlayered, thus compounding its magnitude. Then the literature may show how the various structures of dominance can work together in a text as it happens in the society. For example, a literary text may show how black and Dalit women have to wrestle with the forces of patriarchy along with the oppression in the name of race or caste. So therefore, they are the doubly marginalized. So here we have the excerpt from the Maya Angelou's autobiographical essay, which is the Graduation. So we had to focus on this extract. So in the textbook, page number 88 and 89, we have this classroom activity third. So now we had to focus on the author's details of this work, which is the Graduation. So here we had to focus on the Maya Angelou, who is the author of this autobiographical essay, which is the Graduation. Maya Angelou was an acclaimed American poet, storyteller, activist, and autobiographer. And Angelou had a broad career as a singer, dancer, actress, composer, and Hollywood's first female black director, but became most famous as a writer, editor, essayist, playwright, and poet. As a civil rights activist, Angela worked for Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm. She was also an educator and served as the Reynolds Professor of American Studies at Wake Forest University. In 2000, Angela was awarded the National Medal of Arts by President Bill Clinton. In 2010, she was awarded the Presidential Medal of Freedom, the highest civilian honor in the US, by President Barack Obama. Angela was awarded over 50 honorary degrees before her death. Angelou's most famous work, which is I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings in 1969, deals with her early years in Long Beach, St. Louis, and Stamps, where she lived with her brother and paternal grandmother. In one of its most evocative and controversial moments, Angelo described how she was first cuddled, then raped by her mother's boyfriend when she was just 7 years old. When the man was murdered by her uncles for his crime, Angelo felt responsible and stopped talking. And Angelo remained mute for 5 years but developed a love for language. She read black authors like Langston Hughes and Paul Laurence Dunbar, as well as the canonical works by William Shakespeare, Charles Dickens, and Edgar Allan Poe. When Angela was 12 and half, Mr. Flowers, an educated African American woman, finally got her to speak again. Mrs. Flowers, as Angela recalled in her children's book, Mrs. Flowers, A Moment of Friendship in 1986, emphasized the importance of the spoken word, explained the nature and the importance of education, and instilled in her a love of poetry. Angelo graduated at the top of her 8th grade class. Angelo attended the George Washington High School in San Francisco and took lessons in dance and drama on a scholarship at the California Labor School. When Angelo, just 17, graduated from high school and gave birth to a son, Guy, she began to work as the first African American and first female streetcar conductor in San Francisco. Angelo continued her study of dance in New York City, returning to San Francisco to sing the Purple Onion Cab. From 1954 to 1955, she was a member of the cast of touring production of Porgy and Bess. During the late 1950s, Angelo sang in West Coast before returning to New York to continue her stage career. Then Angelo joined the Harlem Writers Guild in the late 1950s and met James Baldwin and other important writers. It was during this time that Angelo had an opportunity to hear Dr. Martin Luther King speak. Inspired by his message, she decided to become a part of this. Following her work for Dr. King, Angelo moved to Cairo with her son and in 1962 to Ghana in West Africa. She worked as a freelance writer and was a feature editor at the African Review. When Angelo returned to the United States in mid 1960, she was encouraged by author James Baldwin and Robert Loomis, an editor at Random House, to write an autobiography. Initially, Angelo declined the offers but eventually changed her mind and wrote I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. The book chronicles Angelo's childhood and ends with the birth of her son. It won immediate success and was nominated for a National Book Award. In 2013, she was the recipient of the Literarian Award, an honorary National Book Award for contributions to the literary community. She died in 2014 at the age of 86. So that's regarding a quick overview of the author who is Maya Angelou. Maya Angelou, the American poet, memoirist, and actress whose several volumes of autobiography explored the themes of economic, radical, and sexual oppression. And Angelou describes the intense differences from the white school and hers. While first preparing for her graduation, Angelou was very excited and being quite proud of her academic achievements and other accomplishments. Angela was hardly able to contain the anticipation of marching up to the stage and receiving her hard earned diploma. Not only was she proud of herself, but it was quite obvious that those around her felt the same delight. Her mother made her a beautiful dress, complete with an abundance of embroideries and frills. Many people showered her with gifts and money, imparting with her words of wisdom and encouragement to nourish her desire to achieve. A great feeling of happiness had been bestowed upon her, and she was rather anxious to reap the rewards. The time for graduation had finally come. After being led by her mother's hand, Angelo nervously took her place with the other students as her family seated themselves in the auditorium. They were informed that their guest speaker was on a tight schedule and could not stay long. After taking his place on stage, the chief guest, who is Mr. Donlevy, spoke great measures about the improvements that would soon be received by the Central or White School, but little of the accomplishments outside of sports for the blacks. Angelo felt crushed. All hope had been admonished as she was reminded of the Negro's place in life, maids, farmers, and other unspectacular positions. She became quite bitter as she listened his speech. So this is regarding Maya Angelou, who is the American poet and memoirist and also the actress whose several volumes of autobiography explored the themes of this economic, then radical and sexual oppression. And also regarding this work, which is the Graduation, which is the autobiographical work of Maya Angelou. Graduation describes Maya Angelou's graduation from the 8th grade. There is great excitement before the event, but it is spoiled by the patronizing speech of a white politician who suggests that while white children can do anything, the black children should limit their aspirations to sporting prowess. A performance of Lift Every Voice and Sing by the valedictorian of the author's class, however, gives the ceremony a renewed sense of possibility and optimism. So, this work is often printed as a stand-alone essay, but it is also a chapter in the author's first autobiography, which is I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. And it begins with a description of the general excitement in the small towns of Stamps at the upcoming grammar and high school graduations. The author was graduating from the 8th grade and had achieved some of the highest mark in her class. Her grandmother had made her a new dress for the occasion and presented her with a Mickey Mouse watch, while her brother gave her a leather bound copy of the poems of Edgar Allan Poe. At the graduation ceremony, the principal gave a speech about the Booker T. Washington, then called upon a white politician named Edward Donnelly to address the school. In his speech, Donnelly made it clear that while white children could achieve the greatness in any field, black boys should limit their aspiration to sports such as boxing and basketball. Black girls were not worth mentioning at all. The author was outraged by this occasion, as Donald seemed to be telling them all that they were destined to be maids and farmers, handymen and washerwomen, and anything higher that we aspired to was facial and presumptuous. The saving grace of the ceremony after Donald had spoiled it was the singing of the James Weldon Jones Lift Every Voice and Sing by the valedictorian of the author's class, who is Henry Reed. This song, sometimes called as the Black National Anthem, restored a sense of optimism and possibility to the proceedings. The highlights of the essay are provided by the gift the author receives on the morning of her graduation, Donalby's speech, and the singing of Lift Every Voice and Sing, though Donalby's speech is perhaps better described as a low light. So that's regarding this work, which is the graduation. So now we had to focus on this extract from Maya Angelou's autobiographical essay, which is the graduation. So this is the excerpt from Maya Angelou's autobiographical essay, which is graduation. So in the page number 88 in the textbook, we have this extract. So graduation, the hush hush magic time of frills and gift and congratulations and diplomas was finished for me before my name was called. The accomplishment was nothing. The meticulous maps, drawn in three colors of ink, learning and spelling the decasyllabic words, memorizing the wall, the rape of Lucrece, it was for nothing. Don Levy had exposed us. We were maids and farmers, handymen and washerwomen, and anything higher that we aspired to was partial and presumptuous. So this is the extract from the graduation by Maya Angelou. So based on that, we had focus on the classroom activity. സോ ഗ്രാജുവേഷൻ എന്നൊരു വർക്കിലെ മായ ആഞ്ചലോ അനുഭവിച്ചിട്ടുള്ള ചില മാനസികമായ സംഘർഷങ്ങളെ കുറിച്ചാണ് പ്രത്യേകിച്ച് ഇതിൽ പ്രതിപാദിക്കുന്നത്. സോ ബേസിക്കലി ദി ഡോമിനേഷൻ ഓഫ് ദിസ് വൈറ്റ് ഓവർ ദി black. So this is the kind of this incident that we have to keep in mind. So basically this is also a kind of power over the subordinate group by the dominant class. So now we have to focus on the question based on this classroom activity. So assuming Donald V as a white man of authority, figure out how black girl students were doubly marginalized. So here the black girls are doubly marginalized. At first they are marginalized because they are black. So the first one is that they are black, because of that they were marginalized. And also the white discriminate the black. Secondly, the mean jobs are reserved for the blacks, which means the jobs like the maids and farmers, handyman and washerwoman, etc. So this is the second reason that we had to focus on. So the first one is that they were black, and also the white discriminate the black. Secondly, the mean jobs are reserved for the black. The white collar jobs were all reserved for the white people. Moreover, the black girls who are supposed to work as maids, farmers, helpers or washerwomen are made to study the spellings of long words and by heart the poems. This has nothing to do with the work meant for them. So this is regarding the classroom activity based on the Maya Angelou's work, which is the graduation. So a kind of extract from that. So that's regarding the third classroom activity. So the excerpt from Arundhati Roy and Maya Angelou, and these two works shows us who exercise the power and who is affected by it. So both these works gives a clear idea regarding who exercise the power and who is affected by it. So the first one is regarding who exercise the power. So ആരാണ് ഈ പവർ എക്സസൈസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്, ആരാണ് ഇത്തരം രീതിയിലുള്ള ഒരു ഡോമിനേഷൻ നടത്തുന്നത്, അതായത് ഒരു സൊസൈറ്റിയിലെ ഒരു സബോർഡിനേറ്റ് ക്ലാസ്സിന് മുകളിലെ ഒരു ഡോമിനേഷൻ നടക്കുന്ന ഒരു രീതി ആരാണ് നടത്തുന്നതാണ് ആദ്യത്തെ ഒരു ടോപ്പിക് എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്. അതായത് who exercise this power, and second one is that who is affected by it, ആരാണ് അതിനെ അനുഭവിക്കുന്നത്, ആരുടെ മേലാണ് ഇത്തരം പവർ എക്സസൈസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. സോ ബേസിക്കലി ദി ഫസ്റ്റ് വൺ ഇസ് റിഗാർഡിംഗ് ദി ഡോമിനന്റ് ക്ലാസ്, second one is regarding the subordinated class. So the dominant class, they exercise their monopoly or their power over the subordinated class. So this is one of the important things that we have to focus on while analyzing these classroom activities. And the perspective of one who suffers the power empowers the literary narratives in a very special way. So here we have to focus on a term which is the subjectivity. Subjectivity means it is something in us by which we understand the world around us, and also it asks us to feel the world on the basis of our perceptions. So the subjectivity is something in us in which we understand the world around us. So നമ്മുടെ ചുറ്റുപാടുള്ള ലോകത്തെ നമ്മൾ മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ വേണ്ടിയിട്ട് നമ്മളിൽ തന്നെ ഇൻഹെറൻ്റ് ആയിരിക്കുന്ന കുറച്ച് കോൺസെപ്റ്റുകൾ, കുറച്ച് മൈൻഡ് സെറ്റുകളാണ് എപ്പോഴും സബ്ജക്റ്റിവിറ്റി എന്ന കോൺസെപ്റ്റായിട്ട് റിലേറ്റ് ചെയ്തിരിക്കുന്നത്. സോ സബ്ജക്റ്റിവിറ്റി ഈസ് സംതിങ് ഇൻ us by which we understand the world around us, and also it asks us to feel the world on the basis of our perceptions. നമ്മുടേതായ കുറച്ച് ധാരണകൾ വെച്ചിട്ട്, നമ്മൾ ചിന്തിക്കുന്ന രീതിയിലുള്ള കുറച്ച് ധാരണകൾ വെച്ചിട്ട് എപ്പോഴും ലോകത്തെ മനസ്സിലാക്കാൻ വേണ്ടിയാണ് ഈ സബ്ജക്റ്റിവിറ്റി എന്നൊരു കോൺസെപ്റ്റ് എപ്പോഴും നമ്മൾ മനസ്സിലാക്കേണ്ടത്. So basically we have the ideology, we have the hegemony and also the interpolation. So here we have the another term which is the subjectivity, in which it is something in us by which we understand the world around us, and also it takes us to feel the world on the basis of our perceptions. So the difference between the terms subject and object in theory can be understood on the basis of who has the power of agency and on whom it is exercised. So like I said earlier, the kind of this power agency, who exercise the power and also on whom it is exercised. So this is the one of the important thing regarding the concept of this doubly marginalized. So here in this work we had to focus on this concept in which the difference between the terms the subject and object in theory can be understood on the basis of who has the power of agency and on whom it is exercised. So the first one is regarding subjectivity, second one is the object in which on whom it is exercised. And in the excerpt from Roy and Angelou, we can clearly find who is the subject and who is the object are. And subjectivity empowers as you can see from the above example. So here we have to focus on the classroom activity first and the classroom activity third, in which how the power is imposed over the subordinate group. So in the first one was regarding the god of small things, how the upper class dominated the lower class. And also in this work by Maya Angelou, here we have a kind of marginalized concept in which the kind of this authority or power by the white over the black. So that's regarding the two important concepts, this subject and object. So here the subject means the kind of power which is exercised over the another. So regarding the object, it means that on whom it is exercised. ആരുടെ മേലാണോ അത് ഈ പവർ എക്സസൈസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്, ആരുടെ മേലാണോ ഇത്തരത്തിലുള്ള ഒരു പവർ ഇമ്പോസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്, അവരെയാണ് ഇവിടെ ഒബ്ജക്റ്റ് എന്ന കോൺസെപ്റ്റിൽ നമുക്ക് മനസ്സിലാക്കുന്നത്. So the first one is regarding the power of agency. So second one is regarding on whom it is exercised. ആരുടെ മേലെയാണോ ഈ പവർ എക്സസൈസ് ചെയ്യുന്നത്. So that's regarding the two important concepts, the subject and object. So today we discussed regarding the classroom activity 3 and also some important aspects regarding the classroom activity 2, which was based on the Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. So we have to focus on the two important concepts that we discussed today. They are the subject and object. And also we should focus on the topic, the marginalized. So here the power is one of the important factors that we should keep in mind. So that's regarding the classroom activity. So in the last few classes we discussed regarding the classroom activities and also some important concepts. So in the next class onwards we have the test, in which the first chapter, which is George Orwell's A Hanging. So that's for today. Thank you. Happy learning.